The Zalosian ambassador, Xyler, adjusted the delicate filters on his olfactory vents. The air of the human ship, the Odyssey, was a bland, sterile assault compared to the rich tapestry of scents that constituted Zalosian communication. He was here, along with a small scientific team, as part of the Interspecies Cooperation Initiative, a rather grand title for what Xyler considered a tedious babysitting mission. Humans, they were so loud. Their primary mode of communication, a series of guttural barks, clicks, and hisses they called speech, was pathetically rudimentary. How could any species achieve interstellar travel while relying on such an inefficient, brute force method of conveying information? Zalosians, of course, communicated through the nuanced release of pheromonal bouquets, each molecule carrying precise data, emotion, and intent. It was elegant, silent, and profoundly sophisticated. Humans were like infants banging pots and pans, making a racket, but saying very little of substance. Their destination was Xylos Prime's third moon, designated RX-7, a world perpetually shrouded in violent, electrically charged storms. It was deemed too hazardous for Zalosian drone exploration due to the atmospheric interference with delicate pheromonal trails. Humans, with their clunky, shielded technology and their noisy ways, were considered better suited for this initial ground survey. The plan was for joint teams to establish small outposts, gather data, and then compare findings. Xyler anticipated the Zalosian data, conveyed with pheromonal precision, would be infinitely more valuable. Captain Eva Rostova, the Odyssey's commander, stood beside him on the bridge, her face illuminated by the chaotic swirl of RX-7 on the main view screen. "Nasty looking, isn't she, Ambassador?" she said, her voice a typical human cacophony. Xyler merely pulsed a faint pheromone of polite agreement, a scent too subtle for humans to detect, which was just as well. He wouldn't want them to think he was overly impressed. The landing was rough, even for the robust human shuttles. The Zalosian team, encased in environmental suits that filtered the chaotic atmosphere and attempted to translate their pheromones into crude audio for the humans, established their small, prefabricated habitat a kilometer away from the main human camp. Xyler's lead scientist, Lara, exuded a pheromonal cloud of frustration. "The interference is worse than projected, High Ambassador. My preliminary readings indicate pheromonal communication beyond 5 meters will be fragmented." Xyler released a scent of calm authority. "We adapt, Lyra. Focus on short-range instruments. The humans can handle the broader strokes." He still didn't see how they could coordinate anything complex with their shouting. The first few days were a testament to this. Human teams moved with surprising speed, their voices crackling over their communication system, a constant, grating noise to Zalosian senses. They set up geological sensors, atmospheric probes, and biological samplers, all while chattering incessantly. The Zalosians worked in their typically silent, efficient manner, though the storm's electrical discharges frequently forced them to pause and recalibrate their sensitive equipment. Then came the great storm, a tempest of such magnitude it dwarfed all previous ones. The sky turned a bruised purple-black, and lightning didn't just strike. It seemed to tear the atmosphere apart. Alarms blared in the human camp, a shrill, piercing sound that made Xyler's antennae twitch in irritation. In the Zalosian habitat, a different crisis was unfolding. The storm's unique electromagnetic signature completely neutralized their pheromonal communication. One moment, Lyra was releasing a complex scent sequence detailing a critical equipment malfunction. The next, nothing. Her scent glands were working, but the molecules were being torn apart, their information scrambled into meaningless aromatic noise the instant they left her suit. Panic, a rare and unwelcome scent, began to permeate their small habitat as each Zalosian found themselves an island, unable to send or receive the nuanced signals that bound their society. Their emergency protocols relied on clear, precise pheromonal commands. Without them, they were lost. Xyler tried to exude calm, but how could he when his primary tool of leadership was gone? He saw two of his technicians bumping into each other, their movements agitated, their usually synchronized actions now clumsy and uncoordinated. Meanwhile, in the human camp, Captain Rostova's voice cut through the din of the storm and the internal alarms. All teams, report status. Engineering, what's the integrity of the habitat shield? Shield fluctuating, Captain, but holding. We've got power surges across the board. Navigation, can you get a fix on Team Beta? Their comms just went dead. A younger voice, tight with stress, replied, Negative, Captain. Too much interference. Their last known position was Sector Gamma 7, near the unstable cliff formations. Xyla, observing this through a shielded viewport, felt a grim sense of vindication mixed with unease. Their noisy communication was bound to fail, but the silence from his own team was a far more profound failure. Then something unexpected happened. The human external comm system, though crackling with static, remained functional. Through it, Xyla began to hear the humans coordinate. His audio translator, designed primarily for simple one-on-one exchanges, struggled but began to piece together the human chatter. Rostova's voice again. Okay, people, listen up. Team Alpha, you're closest to Gamma 7. I need you to attempt a visual. Marco, you lead. And for God's sake, be careful. That whole region is a seismic nightmare right now. A gruff voice, Marco's, presumably. Copy that, Captain. Moving now. Jenkins, you got my back. A fainter, slightly tinny voice. Always, boss. Just try not to fall into any new holes, eh? My back isn't that strong. Xyla tilted his head. The translator flagged the last sentence. Possible sarcasm detected. Intent. Morale boost tension diffusion. Sarcasm. A layer of meaning deliberately contrary to the literal words. How inefficient. Or was it? The tone carried something beyond the mere words, a sense of camaraderie that seemed to calm the recipient. The Zalosian linguist on Xylo's team, a young scholar named Fail, had, in his own initiative before their communication went down, activated a wide-spectrum linguistic analyzer, hoping to build a more comprehensive database of human noise. Now, isolated and unable to confer, Fail was glued to his instruments, his antennae quivering with an intensity Xyla hadn't seen before. The analyzer was not just translating words, but attempting to map intonation, stress patterns, and contextual cues. On the human comms, Rostova was speaking to someone whose signal was weak. Sing, what's your status? Your transmission is breaking up. A broken, staticky voice. Can't pressure, containment, failing. Rostova's voice became sharper, yet somehow softer. Hang in there, Priya. We hear you. Describe the breach. Engineering is listening. Stay with me. The translator noted. Emotional support markers detected. Vocal tone shift indicates empathy and reassurance intended to stabilize subject under duress. Xylo watched, fascinated despite himself. The humans weren't just barking commands. There was a complex interplay of emotion and information. Suddenly, Marco's voice from Team Alpha came through, strained. Captain, we've got visual on Beta's rover. It's gone over the edge of the Serpent's Canyon. I see. I see two figures, alive, clinging to the cliff face. Rostova, how far down? Can you reach them? Marco, maybe 70 meters. The wind is hellacious. Standard retrieval gear won't cut it. We'll be blown right off. A new voice joined, calm and measured. Captain, this is Specialist Davies, search and rescue. I'm hearing this. I have an idea. It's risky, involves a controlled descent with a grapple anchor into the leeward side of that rock spire adjacent to their position. But I'll need someone to guide me verbally, someone with eyes on them who can read the wind shifts. Another voice, one Xylo hadn't heard before, surprisingly melodic, even amidst the static. I can do that. Lena Hansen, Geology. I'm with Team Alpha. I've been mapping these crosswinds all week. I can see them, Davies, and I can see the spire. What followed was, to Xyla, a revelation. Davies, the rescue specialist, began his descent, buffeted by winds. Hansen, the geologist, didn't just give directions. She began to sing. Not a song in the human cultural sense he'd briefly encountered, no music, no discernible lyrics at first. It was a series of rising and falling tones, short, sharp melodic phrases, and longer, sustained notes. Steady, Davies. Hold now. A slight drop. 3, 2, 1. Good. Gust coming from your port side. Lean into it now. Her voice was a strange mix of focused instruction and almost hypnotic rhythm. Fail, the linguist, was practically vibrating. His console was alight with complex waveform analyses. He managed to activate a localized pheromonal burst, just a flicker, carrying a single, astonished realization. Coded data stream. It's not just speech. It's like musical telemetry. The pitch and duration of her notes are conveying micro-adjustments, wind speed changes, even potential rockfall warnings, faster than full sentences could. Xylo stared. This, singing, it was a highly compressed, incredibly adaptive form of data transfer, tailored for a specific, life-threatening situation. It was bypassing the limitations of explicit vocabulary by using pure sound dynamics. Davy's grunts of exertion were audible. Almost there, I see them, reaching, got one. The tension in the human voices was palpable, yet overlaid with that strange, focused calm. Rostova's commands were concise, almost clipped, yet her team responded instantly, efficiently. There was no pheromonal cloud of panic here, despite the imminent danger. There was something else, a shared mental state built on trust and that incredibly versatile, noisy communication. The rescue was successful. The two stranded members of Team Beta were hauled to safety, followed by Davies. The storm raged on for another 12 hours, during which the human teams worked tirelessly to reinforce their habitat and assist the injured. When their own pheromonal communication was finally, weakly, restored within their habitat, Lyra was the first to release a scent, a complex mixture of relief and profound confusion. High Ambassador, the humans, I don't understand what I just witnessed. Fail, however, was exuding an aroma of pure, unadulterated academic ecstasy. It's astounding. Their language isn't primitive, it's hyperadaptive. They use tone, inflection, context, even deliberate ambiguity like sarcasm to convey multiple layers of information simultaneously. And the musical encoding, it's genius, pure genius born of necessity. Xyler himself was silent, processing. He had dismissed human speech as the clumsy tool of a lesser species. He had believed Xylosian pheromones, with their molecular precision, were the pinnacle of communication. But he had seen his own highly trained team fall into disarray when their sophisticated system failed. And he had witnessed the humans, using their primitive barks and noises, perform a complex, high-stakes rescue in conditions that had crippled Xylosian abilities. He thought of the inefficient sarcasm that bonded a team. He thought of the captain's voice, shifting to offer emotional support that clearly strengthened a failing crew member. He thought of the geologist's song, a lifeline of pure data woven into melody. Their language wasn't a blunt instrument. It was a Swiss army knife, a tool with 1,000 unexpected blades, each honed for a different purpose. It could be brutal and direct, soft and reassuring, layered with hidden meanings, or condensed into pure, efficient sound. It was messy, chaotic, and deeply, terrifyingly effective. It was a language forged in the crucible of a demanding world, a language that could carry not just data, but spirit. The aftermath of the great storm was a quiet affair. The humans, exhausted but successful, offered assistance to the Zalosians, who were still shaken by their period of enforced silence and disconnection. Xyler, for the first time, found himself truly observing them, listening not with disdain, but with a dawning, unnerving respect. When the Odyssey and the Zalosian ship finally departed RX-7, Xyler made a formal request to Captain Rostova. "Captain," he began, his translator rendering his pheromones into human speech, "I would be honored if you would share your linguistic database with the Zalosian Science Concilium. We have underestimated the complexity and utility of human spoken language." Rostova smiled, a typically broad, open human expression. "Of course, Ambassador. We believe understanding each other better is always a good thing." Xylo wasn't so sure it was good, not in the way she meant. For the Zalosians, it was a paradigm shift. The galaxy had long regarded humans as noisy, emotionally volatile upstarts. Now, Xylo saw them as a species whose communication, forged in chaos and necessity, possessed a terrifying adaptability and depth. A species that could weave emotional support, complex data, and unbreakable resolve into mere sounds was a species to be reckoned with. Back on Xylos, Fayle's preliminary report on human linguistics sent ripples of shock through the academic and diplomatic corps. The idea that emotion, conveyed through tone and inflection, wasn't a flaw but a powerful communicative tool was revolutionary. The concept of sarcasm as a bonding mechanism or of musical phrasing as high-speed data transfer was utterly alien. Zalosian diplomacy, which relied on precise, unambiguous pheromonal statements, had always found negotiating with humans frustrating due to their perceived vagueness and emotional outbursts. Now, they began to see those outbursts and vagaries as potentially containing layers of meaning they had been utterly blind to. Intelligence agencies, which had dismissed intercepted human audio chatter as useless noise, scrambled to reanalyze petabytes of recordings. A new legend, a new warning, began to subtly spread through the pheromonal networks of the Zalosian elite. Beware the humans. Their words are not mere sounds. They are storms, capable of conveying more than we can easily perceive. They speak with the thunder of their homeworld, and in that thunder there is not just noise, but a terrible, beautiful, and dangerous clarity. The Zalosians, masters of the silent scent, had learned to fear the power of the spoken word.